Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hidden Brick, where today we're going to build the Lego Technic Formula Off-Roader. This is set number 42037. Comes with 494 pieces. A little picture up here that shows you some of the functions. Looks like we're going to have steering, a kind of fake working engine, and the little roll bar assembly that opens up to allow passengers in. So this is interesting. It's one of the bigger boxes that I've seen that has these little thumb pieces where you're supposed to open them up. Those type of boxes are usually like the smaller kind of battle pack type boxes. Even though it has a thumb thing there, what I like to do is just put my finger under here because the little bit of glue is really not holding it on that well. And you can open up the box like that. So let's look at the contents of this set. We have unnumbered bags, so we just have bags of elements, all in their own individual bags. We have these big balloon tires that are loose in the box, not inside of any bag. We have a large foil-backed sticker sheet. And two large instruction books. So you can choose which model you want to build. Instruction book 1 is the model that you see on the front of the box, and instruction book 2 shows you an alternate model you can make. So it's kind of like looks like some sort of racer style off-roader. So I'm going to obviously build the main model that we see on the front of the box. So the first thing I need to do is open up the contents of these bags. So I'm not going to sort these pieces. I'm just going to leave them in the piles as I open them, because if you look in these bags, they have pretty much all the same elements in one type of bag, and then like another bag has different elements but all of the same types of different elements. So they kind of come pre-sorted or sub-sorted in all these individual bags. So me just making little piles of each one is going to be good enough. Alright, so that's all the main bags. Now these two little bags were inside of that first big bag that I opened up. So I'm going to make two more little piles off to the side. And this is of these large elements. Small elements that were in the large bag. You can see this one has some pins and bushings and small bevel gears. Go ahead and put that one right there. There we go. There's a few random Lego elements scattered throughout the set. So we have this round 2x2 plate. I'm sure there'll probably be a few more randoms throughout. Alright, so we are ready to go. So we start with a 3-long Technic axle. And we're going to build starting from the middle, going out. That's the way Technic models work. Slide that axle through that piece. Have another connector over there. Next we have some of these long Technic pins with a axle hole on the end. Connect a couple of these elements. Now we're going to create another one of these 3 long axle pieces. Connected to another one of these angled lift arms. That's there, so it looks similar to this one we just built, but what we're going to do is attach them back to back, just like that. So we've kind of created this frame. Now we have this T-frame or I-frame. Put a couple friction pins. Okay. Now, another one of these. This is a axle joiner with a pinhole in the middle. So we'll put these little pin axle combo pieces inside each one. And now we have these perpendicular pin axle joiners. A couple 3 long axles. And this slides all the way in here. So now that it's in there, the only thing you have to be aware of is this pinhole has to be perpendicular to this frame. And let's see, they have the model shown turned this way. We're going to add a couple more of these joiner elements. Now we have a rectangular frame. Insert these little joiner pieces, not all the way in, just enough to be held on. And we turn the model this way, slide it over, and push those. Hold on a second. So we push this up. Alright, so you can see this is now kind of wedged in here, so it's kind of all interlocked. Just kind of creating this big, sturdy frame. So we have some lime green, little L-shaped lift arms. Do 1, 2. So this one. Get there. Have another one. So we have to push it in, line up the 2 pinholes, and then slide it in. So we have this little bar element sticking out. Alright, next we have a axle joiner with a 4 long axle on one end and a 10 long. If I could find it somewhere. There it is. So it's a really, really long one. And they do put a little 1-to-1 ratio print in the instruction book, so if you don't know if you have the right length, you can put it right up next to it and it'll verify if you have the right length or not. Alright, it's in the gear, make sure you don't squeeze it on there too tight. You need to leave a little gap there so it spins freely. So this, remember that piece that I said had to be perpendicular? That's why, because we just put this axle all the way through it. Now we have two of the 3 long axle with the axle joiner piece at the end. I see it in the instruction book. I'm not seeing it in the pieces here. Oh, because that's not what it is. I was thinking it was a different piece. What we need is a 3 long axle with a bushing at the end. So we're going to create 2 of them like that and just slide those in, and that'll hold that piece together. Okay, so we have a moving gear in there. Next up, a 5 long axle, black axle joiner on the end of this long axle. Okay. Next we have some thin lift arms. 2 of them right next to each other. Kind of slide them about right in the middle of that 3 long axle. We have this 3 long friction pin. Black angled lift arm. Let's see, there it is. That piece. Same with those thin lift arms, we kind of slide this approximately in the middle. Doesn't have to be exact, we can line them up once we get everything all put together. Now we have this steering rack with a couple friction pins with toe balls on the end. This rack slides right in this little L piece. And it's just sitting there right now. We're going to turn it around and slide all of this together. And once it's lined up, push this axle all the way through. That locks it in place. And now we have a steering rack. See, I'm turning this axle back here, and it's actually moving that steering rack in the front. So we have another 5 long axle that'll push all the way through this and lock all those pieces together. This is going to be the beginning of the suspension. Okay, so there is a little toe ball receptacle piece here. You have to make sure it's in the upward position for this portion of the build. have another one. And unlike the one on the bottom, here's the toe ball. You can see on the other side it's covered up. Make sure this one's going to be facing down. So, go right here. Slide this axle with a stop all the way through. And we have a half bushing. Goes right there. Don't squeeze it on there too tight. You need to allow this to be able to move freely. Now we have our steering element. And this is one of the most satisfying clicks you'll ever hear or feel when you put these two pieces together. And these two are one of the pieces that once you put together, they're pretty much forever put together. So see if you can't feel it, but you'll be able to hear it. So it's not going anywhere. Well, maybe if you squeeze these two pieces together, it'll come out. Let me do a little experiment here, see if I can get that out. I mean, once these are together, you really don't want them out. But they do have this little piece here that looks like you could squeeze it together and it'll pop out. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to try. But see, there's the axle for this wheel hub. We're going to put a few toe ball pieces. One on the top, one on the bottom. And these are what are going to click into this suspension element. So we put one on the bottom, right here, and one on the top. So you can see now it moves up and down, and it also has the twisting so it can rotate and steer. Alright, let's do the other side. It's going to be very similar to what we just did on this side. Have our suspension pieces, our axles with a stop. Put the first one on the bottom. Put that through. Half bushing. Okay, nice and loose. Another steering hub. Snap that together. Toe ball, toe ball. Click these together. Okay, so that's our front steering and suspension. Turn this around slightly. We have some friction pins. So you can see that axle that we put in, we had to hold off on putting these friction pins in because we wouldn't be able to get that axle on if we put them in first. So once that's in there, now we can add the elements to connect something to it. These 5 long, thin lift arms with 3 long axles. And these are going to go through the suspension holes right here on these two sides. Put one there. We have another one. And something I like to do is put it right on top of another thin axle and then push those, or a thin lift arm, and then push those axles down, and it has a perfect proportioned 1/2 of a beam depth. Just slide that one in right through there. So now that's where it's sticking out on both sides. Next we have a few more of these that we're going to put on both sides to help keep them locked in place. Okay, so that helps limit the motion to more of a uniform up and down movement. And where am I at here? Alright, turn it back this way. So you have to pay attention to the instructions pretty close, because they do have you twist and rotate the model quite a bit, and if you're not careful you can get disoriented pretty quickly. So we have these steering links attached to the toe ball of the steering rack, and one of these toe balls on the steering axle. It's not a wide range of movement, but you can see that it works. It steers the vehicle. Couple too long axles. Next we have some shock absorbers, and these are pretty stiff shock absorbers. They make different stiffness variations, so this is definitely one of the stiffer ones, and they're usually differentiated by the color. So the softer ones are a light bluish gray housing, and these have the yellow housing, and it basically represents the stiffer ones. So now we have a suspension and some steering. Very good. And we have these light blue angled axle joiners. It's just used for decoration and to help cover up everything. Alright, now let's build the fake engine motor piece. So this style of the engine slash motor block element has been around for a good, maybe 20 years now. They used to have a brick one that was just square. but they changed it to look more like a real kind of a piston chamber. And there's been slight variations to this. They've just in the past, I think, 3 years, there used to be a slot right here on the side, similar to the slot here. It was like you could see through it, but they've made it a solid piece now. So these are the most current version of this engine block element. Now we're going to begin putting the piston pieces on. So we start with a crankshaft and a piston rod. And we have these tan crankshaft axle connectors. Just slowly go all the way down, connecting them all together until we get to the end. So we have one more piston rod there, and then the last crankshaft element is this. So there's our completed crankshaft with the piston rods. And we add one of these yellow pistons to each one of the piston rods. And we put a 5 long axle on the end here. And then we simply drop this in. Just like that. Put that down. We need to add a few supporting elements so that it all stays together. So we have the T-shape lift arm. Line up all the holes, and that goes there. One more, add a few more connecting pins to it. That one slides all right there. So turn it over, and you can see when I rotate this axle, the pistons are alternatively firing down that line of the engine. So that's the fake engine. And I say it's fake because it doesn't actually power or move the vehicle. When you push the vehicle along the floor, that's what actually moves these pistons up and down. So that's kind of why it's fake. It's like the opposite. The wheels are moving the engine versus the engine moving the wheels. It's just a play feature slash gimmick type thing. It's great for kids. They love to see that go up and down when they push the vehicle. And you learn some basic mechanics. Alright, so we have one of these Technic frame elements. We're going to load up with some friction pins on almost every single hole that's available. I'll leave a few of them open. Have a 7 long lift arm with an 8 long axle with a stop on the end. So that, you can see, goes all the way through. If we wanted it to. We're not going to push it all the way through yet. Put a gray gear on here and a bushing. And now we're going to push it all the way through. And this beam still doesn't quite connect to anything yet. And the axle will attach to this axle joiner so it doesn't slide out. Bring our vehicle over, slide that through. So that's what that connects to. We have two of these 9 long beams. And they attach like that. Oh, wait a minute. They should go there. So they cover up 2 of those friction pins that are exposed on the side. It's hard lining up 4 friction pins all at one time. Alright, there we go. Next we have a 6 long axle. So the black axles are the even numbered axles, and then the light bluish gray are the odd numbered. So it helps you visually quickly find the right general size or whatever, and then you can find the right length pretty quickly. And when you have one of these clutch gears, it's basically a gear with a pinhole in it, so it freely spins even if an axle goes through it. And we do a 3 long lift arm right there. That piece. No, it's still falling apart. Struggling to line that up. There it goes. Now a axle joiner to help hold all that together. Alright, few more steps and we'll end this portion of the build. So we've got some 3 long axles. Alright. Actually, this next portion is a pretty big sub-build, so we're going to end this portion of the video right here. So you can see we've got our steering. Get steering going. And we have our fake engine all geared up and working motor. So make sure to check out the next video where we finish this model. Appreciate you guys watching. This is a pretty intense build. It's got a lot of attention to detail when you build this, so this is kind of stuff that I like to do because it's intricate and technical. So thanks for watching. Comment, like, share, and we will see you next time.